Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where I offer some of my thoughts, a bit of a breakdown, and a bit of an analysis on the value of a couple of the versions of Rainbow Six Siege. Now previously I gave my thoughts and the breakdown on the Advanced Edition, which was one of the new versions coming that people can choose to buy for Siege. And this time I will be covering the two most expensive versions of the game that you can buy. The Complete Edition, which is the most expensive, and the Gold Edition later on in the video, which is the second most expensive. The Complete Edition is currently going for £67 or whatever your equivalent is. There is a 30% sale on at the moment, which is going on for the next 9 days by the time I get this uploaded and processed on YouTube. So, yeah, do factor that in if you're going to buy the game. Now might be a good time to purchase it if you're really wanting to do that. But normally, the Complete Edition goes for around £96, or again, whatever your regional equivalent is. But what do you get for that £96 price point? Well, this being the Complete Edition, it's not too surprising that you get all of the DLC operators from the Year 1 bundle, the Year 2 bundle, as well as the Year 3 Season Pass, which is all detailed right here, for Year 3, which gives you, as well as the upcoming operators that we've seen, Lion and Finker, 6 more operators that have yet to be announced, and which we don't know the details of. In addition to that, you get 1200 Rainbow Six Siege credits, which are the purchasable currency in-game, which most of the time people use to buy DLC operators. So already you might start seeing some of the issues with the value of the Complete Edition that I will get into. But in addition to those credits, you also get 10 Outbreak Collection packs. And the Outbreak Collection packs, if you don't know, as I covered in the Advanced Edition video, are Outbreak-specific packs that are sort of being introduced when Chimera hits to sort of celebrate the addition of the Outbreak mode, which is the new kind of upcoming survival, not wave-based, but survival, infected, fighting aliens, doing objectives, you know, that kind of mode that is coming to Siege from March the 6th through to April the 3rd, if you want to play it. But yeah, without further ado, now that we've covered the actual details of what you get when you buy the Complete Edition, do I think it's worth it? Well, the fact that as a new player you're going to be getting all of the operators from Year 1, Year 2, that is fantastic, because when getting into Siege as a new player, a lot of the enjoyment you get as you're being destroyed in multiplayer, just kidding, but only partially, a lot of the enjoyment you get is finding a couple of operators on offense, on defense, that you really just love. They have a gadget that you just love the idea of, and you really want to get better with those specific operators. So personally, I absolutely loved playing with Sledge when I was first playing Siege. Sledge and IQ. Ash was okay, but yes, Sledge, IQ, Doc as well. But everyone's different. In essence, you like to latch onto an operator and really get comfortable with them. They become your comfort picks. And if you start the game with the Complete Edition, well, you've got so many more operators to choose from. So your chances of finding those perfect operators for you, for your playstyle, just goes all the way up. Instead of having just the default operators, you have the all the bonus CTUs and the expansions for the base CTUs, which I guess there aren't any in Year 1 and Year 2, huh? But yeah, regardless, the fact that you get the Year 1 and Year 2 operator bundles as a new player going into Siege is pretty fantastic in my opinion. Similarly, the Year 3 pass, the fact that it gives you early access to new operators, is also pretty good. Not as good because it's sort of spread out over the course of the year, over the course of Year 3, but definitely still good. It gives you a wider range of operators to play with, yada yada. You're more likely to find operators that you want to stick with, that make you want to keep playing Siege, you know, that whole argument. But the Year 3 pass as a new player is sort of less valuable compared to the complete bundles of Year 1 and Year 2 DLC operators, simply because there is the chance, not a super high chance, but definitely the chance that you play Siege for a week or maybe a month and then realize that it's really not the game for you. You know, you really want something a bit different. Maybe you want something a bit more arcadey, a bit less intense, and low time to kill, rather. I've made that mistake before. I called Rainbow Six Siege high time to kill when I really meant low time to kill. It is definitely not a high time to kill game, guys. Just bear that in mind if you're looking to get into it. But back on track. The Year 3 pass is definitely good, but not as good in terms of value as the Year 1 and Year 2 operator bundles for a new player. But now we get onto the really interesting bit in terms of the value of the Complete Edition. In addition to all of these operators and the Year 3 pass and the slight bonuses it gives you in terms of renown gain, etc., you also get the 1200 credits and the Outbreak packs. Now, I'm going to start this section off with my reasoning, that is that as a new player, you really don't care that much, or at least as much as a long-time player, about cosmetics, because you don't have the time or the sort of emotional investment invested in Siege. You know, you're not aware of which operators you truly love yet. You're not aware of which operators are actually, you know, meta-defining or whatever they may be. You're just playing the game, learning the game, and getting to grips with basic mechanics, and unlocking new operators as you go. So this means that whenever you get a cosmetic, you're not going to be like, oh wow, I just got a really cool skin. You're just going to be like, oh sick, I might play that operator at some point when I get round to it. And this sort of, the fact that as a new player you value operators higher than you value cosmetics, it really sort of puts a damper on the proposed value of the Outbreak Collection Packs portion of this Complete Edition, as well as the 1200 credits. Now, when I did the Advanced Edition review and breakdown, my opinion was that the credits you got for that version, you should definitely spend on DLC operators, because as a new player, you want more operators to play with so that you've got a higher likelihood of sticking with the game because you've found an operator that you really love to play. You know, that seems like a sound argument to me. But the Complete Edition, being so darn complete, sort of gives you all of the operators from the get-go. So in that case, what do you actually spend these 1200 credits on? Your options are either buy elite skins, buy other cosmetics from the in-game store, or wait until Year 4 comes out and you can start picking up operators for Year 4, which is a long time away. And as a new player, there's no guarantee that you're still going to be playing the game in that kind of space of time, in that amount of time in the future. So these credits, whereas normally I would recommend, you know, just pick up 2 DLC operators of your liking, you can't really do because you have all the operators anyway. And so the price, the amount that this price has been increased by to compensate for giving you these 1200 credits, that might as well not be there, because those 1200 credits for a new player aren't really worth the price of 1200 credits, if you get what I mean. Because as a new player, normally 1200 credits would be best spent on operators, but since you have all the operators, why have you spent extra on those 1200 credits by buying the Complete Edition? That was a very wordy section, I know, but in essence, the fact that you have all the operators, it sort of diminishes the value of those 1200 credits. And the same argument can be used for the Outbreak Collection Packs. The argument that as a new player, cosmetics mean a lot less to you than they do to a long-time player or someone who's just been playing for just a few months more than you, and therefore the true value of these Outbreak Collection Packs are probably quite a bit less to a new player when compared to a long-time player, who will actually want those packs because they want to expand their range of, cosmetic options, because they are emotionally and time-wise invested in this particular game. So, the long and short of this is, in my personal opinion, of course, you might have more money, you might have more time, everyone's situation is different, but in my opinion, the complete edition for a new player is a big, big gamble. It's essentially you saying that you are going to love Rainbow Six Siege and be playing it for the next year, since you've got the Season Pass and you've spent money as part of the price point of £96, when off sale, when off this 30% discount, on the Year 3 Pass. And the only way you get full value out of that pass is by playing the game for a year. And the only way you get value out of these cosmetics from the collection packs, from the 1200 credits that you can't actually spend on operators until Year 4, the only way you get value out of these two as well is by playing for a long time and becoming invested in Siege. So as a new player, as I said, it's a big gamble, getting the biggest version of the game. You might not like the game, you might play it for a week, realize that, really low time to kill, only having 1 life per round, it really doesn't mesh with you as a player. So, you ditch the game, in which case, you just spent quite a bit of money in terms of game price on a game that you aren't going to get all of the value out of that money from. And that is my opinion. Moving on though, the Gold Edition of Siege. Here, my opinion is a bit more favourable, because unlike with the Complete Edition, this version is quite a bit cheaper, and you do not get the Year 1 and Year 2 operator bundles. Now, based on what I was just saying, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't make sense. You were just saying, as a new player, you want more operators available to play as, so that you can find your golden operator. That is true. But because you don't have the Year 1 and Year 2 bundles in the Gold Edition, you can actually make use of these 1200 credits by buying off the immediately, once you've got it installed, 2 DLC operators of your choosing. So in that sense, the Gold Edition provides a better value offer. And I will point out that you can always pick up the Year 1 bundle or the Year 2 operator bundle later down the line, once you're certain that Siege is the game for you. And in this sense, the lower price point of the Gold Edition definitely is in its favour. Although I will say that the question marks surrounding how long as a new player you're going to be playing Siege for still sort of stands, because part of this price point is sort of sunk into the Year 3 Season Pass, which, that money spent on that Season Pass as part of this version of the game, that only becomes fully valuable to you if you play for a year and unlock all of those operators using the Season Pass and then play with them. So yeah, there is that. But in essence, I personally, again, my own personal opinion, I personally prefer the Gold Edition of Siege as a new player. I mean, in my own opinion, you should be getting the Standard Edition, unless you're very certain that you're going to love Siege. But if you want a slight increase in what you're going to get, then the Gold Edition isn't a terrible, terrible offer. It's still more expensive than the Standard Edition, but if you want to get extras, then it could be worse. Could be worse. So yeah, to wrap this up, I would say both versions, both the Gold and Complete Editions of Siege, are gambles. Because part of the price of them is invested into a Year 3 pass, which is a pass that gives you only its complete value over the course of a year, over the course of the Year 3 cycle for Siege, you're basically saying, I expect to play Siege for the next year, either on and off, or all the time as your main game. And how many people can actually confidently say that? I don't know. I mean, when I first got Siege and started playing it, I don't think I would have been able to say that myself. It's different per person. Maybe you've played a lot of high stakes, low time to kill, really tactical shooters before, and you know that they are your jam, therefore Siege is probably your jam as well. Then fair play. Getting Siege, and specifically to the contents of this video, getting a more expensive version of Siege, either the Gold, the Advanced, or the Complete Edition, those are going to be, because of that interest in this particular type of FPS, it's going to be a better offer to you. But to other people, if you think maybe you're going to like it because you're in the market for some kind of FPS that's doing well at the moment, I would suggest going for one of the cheaper versions. And with that said, that is more or less me wrapped up. Those are my thoughts and opinions on the value of the Complete Edition of Siege and the Gold Edition. Do bear in mind that for the next 9 days there is a 30% discount on the Advanced, Gold and Complete Editions of Siege, and there is also a 13% discount off of the Standard Edition. If you are looking to get into Siege, now might be a decent time to do so. So yeah, thank you for watching. I do hope that this was as helpful as my other video seemed to be, as it did get a fairly positive reception and a lot of great comments. So yeah, as always guys, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.